I am really enjoying sitting down and making these interviews with fellow YouTubers. And I didn't really think I would enjoy that because I'm not an interviewer and I'm really not much of a people person. But it's been fun and I hope to be able to continue to do some more. Today I sat down with James Murphy. His YouTube channel is called the Sandscratcher, and he'll tell you what that means when you watch the interview. James has been a viewer of the New Retired Me channel pretty much since its beginning. He stumbled across my channel somehow. I don't really remember. And he'll tell you a little bit about that as well. But our channels sort of have similar purposes in mind, which is to leave some kind of a legacy and some maybe thoughts that our kids or grandkids might like to have after we're gone. And I got to meet him in person on a trip that I made to England, and I was in Cambridge, and we sat down and had a cup of coffee and chatted for a while, and it was just a lot of fun. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So I hope you enjoy my time with James Murphy. All right, James, welcome to the New Retired Me. It's not like this is your first time here. You've been following the channel for a while. And I want to sort of introduce you to the people who watch this channel. Talk a little bit about why you started your YouTube video. Maybe talk a little bit about us meeting up in Cambridge, which was a lot of fun. And we'll just see where the conversation takes us. So why don't you just sort of briefly introduce yourself to the people who may not be familiar with your channel?
Okay, my name's James Murphy, but I'm known on YouTube as the Sandscratcher. Now, the reason for that is that there is also a very famous James Murphy who is the lead person in LCD Sound System, which was a pop group. So every time you type in my name, he comes up.
Okay.
So I figured I'd never get seen. The Sandscratcher part comes from my background and the family that I was born into. I was born into a fairground family in 1960, but we were settled down at the coast. And what happens is fairground people call people who go down the coast to earn a living sand scratchers because they're scratching a living in the sand. Okay. And that's where the name came from. I've been a bit of a serial entrepreneur, if the truth be known. I started off working for my mum and my dad. Then I bought my own fairground ride and went travelling on fairgrounds. I've had amusement arcades. I've run a travel business. Oh, you could go on and on. And when I decided to do this, it started around 2020 when we were all locked down. And I was looking on YouTube and seeing that people were having a great time doing this, but I couldn't find many people of my age because it just looked like young people on there. And it kind of put me off having a go. And I kept looking and looking. I think they call it procrastination, if the truth is known. And I never started for ages. And then one day I wasn't ready. I just thought, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to. And so I started. The reason for me starting was I have to go back to when I was about 18 or 19. My dad's uncle would have been about 80. And I used to go and see him and we'd have chats and conversations. And he would tell me these stories from when he was young. And I loved them. And I always thought to myself, wouldn't it be good if you could record these stories? Because now they're gone and the stories have gone with them. And when I wanted to start this, it's very much how you started yours, because I think I started before you did.
Probably. Yeah.
My plan was to tell stories and give advice and encouragement to my two sons. That was it. The plan was there would only be me and them, and we're just chatting to it to each other, and I would tell them the stories of their life, the family going back, and tell them some of the things that's happened to me along the way, so that they didn't make the same mistakes, so that they could be
Right.
a bit cleverer than I was. And that's really where it started from.
Um, so tell me a little bit about what life was like uh, as a sandscratcher.
As a sandscratcher,
Yeah.
I started off working for my mum and dad. My
Right.
mum used to play money games with me when I was 3, 4, and we would sit at a table and she would put all the coins out and the notes that we have in the currency. It used to be pounds, shillings, and pence in
Right.
England at the time. And she would say to me, she would give me, say, what was 2 bob, which is 20p. And she would give it to me and say, give me change of that. I would like so much of it in pennies. And we played this game, and I just thought we were playing a game. But once they figured that I could do this, they shoved me in a cash desk in the arcade at 5-year-old. And so I was sitting in the cash desk, giving change out. What I thought was a game was training, and so that was that. That was my start, where we learned to do things. And then with my dad, if he had to mend something in the arcade, he would take me with him and show me how to do it. So I would learn to do those sorts of things. And by the time I was 12, my elder brother and sister, who were 10 and 12 years older than me, had got married. So I was then the main worker in the family.
Okay.
And what it consisted of, basically, we would open the amusement arcade at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I would be in there at 7:30, sweeping floors, emptying ashtrays, polishing the glasses on the fronts of the machines, and basically getting it ready to open. At 9 o'clock, we would open. I would go in the cash desk, and that is pretty much where I'd be until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know if you have the game in America, but we call it bingo over here.
Okay.
And my other job would be to be a bingo caller. And so then I would go from the arcade into the bingo and start saying, the bingo is open. We only need 5 players to start the first game. If you'd like to come in, take your seats. God, I can still do it 40 years later. And so that was the kind of thing that we had to do. And so I'm not naturally extrovert, but you kind of learn, because my job was to get, at the time, people who played bingo in England would have been 60, 70, and I was 12.
Yeah.
So I learned how to communicate with older people. And that would be the day. I'd be in the bingo until 5 o'clock. We'd rush in like lunatics to eat dinner and that, and get back out. And then I'd be out there in the arcade till 7 o'clock when the evening session would start. And then I'd do the same again till about 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night, but we're closed.
Oh my goodness.
Then when I was still at school, I would come home from school with my homework and sit in the cash desk giving change and doing my homework. And so everybody had to work. That was the case in the family. We all had jobs to do.
Yeah.
And so that was it. That's why I got married young. But
So you eventually. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that if I got married young, I wouldn't have to work so many hours.
Okay. Okay. That didn't work out, did
It's not true.
it? So when you opened your own business, did you incorporate your kids into that business too?
Do you know what? I had a conversation with my dad when I was about 15. I would call it an argument.
Okay.
And I said to him, Dad, I will never treat my kids like you've treated me. You treat me like a slave. When my kids were old enough, I think I was probably worse than my dad. It took me to having my 2 boys to realise that my dad was right after all, and I'd been wrong all the time.
Well, I mean, I think today, in today's terms, we would probably have people who would be absolutely aghast that you were made to work that way. But um, it sounds like that it gave you a lot of the tools that you needed to be an adult that maybe kids
Absolutely.
today are they're not getting it.
Absolutely. It gave me the thing I noticed most is it gave me persistence.
Okay.
Working a 9 to 5 job is fine. There is nothing wrong with working in a 9 to 5 job. But when you work for yourself, you tend to do more hours than that. And so it
Yeah.
was my turn and I had my own businesses to run, the clock didn't matter.
Right.
It would mean that I would just do the jobs until the jobs got done, and then I'd finish. My dad said to me once, I asked my dad once if I could have half a day off. And he said, sure, you can. When you've worked 12 hours, you can get the rest.
But I didn't experience things quite like that. But when my mom and dad moved back to Arkansas and my dad was starting his own business, I mean, they had no income. They were living off their savings, and we built a house, and he borrowed against the house to start the business, and I was basically free labor. And so my junior and senior year in high school, I was put to work, and my senior year in high school, I worked mostly second shift because that allowed me to go to school during the day. And you're right, when you have your own business, it's a 24-hour a day deal. Um, and at least it was for my dad. Now it wasn't that way for me, but it was for my dad and my mom. I mean, they lived and breathed trying to get this thing going so they could, make a living. And I eventually got paid later, but I was making this was in 74, 75, 76 in those years. I got paid $10 a week. So and I was working 40 or 50 hours a week. So, the slave labor can help.
The funny thing about that, the funny thing about that is that in the winter, I went and worked when I was still at home, I went and got a job to get through the winter to earn money. And I can remember the first job I got was in a little shop in the town. And it was an electrical shop that sold music centers and things like that. So I was in my element because I've always loved music. And my job was to learn about all these things. And then when someone came in to buy, I'd ask them what they wanted out of it. And then I would know what to point them towards. And I loved the job. And I thought, great, I've definitely got paid more money than I did by my mum and dad. And so the first week I came in with my wage, I think it was £17. And my mum went, I'll have a tenner of that. Then now you're working, you can pay for your own keep. So they weren't, it sounds like they were horrible, but they weren't. They gave me the tools to
Yeah.
survive in the world.
Yeah.
And my dad, my parents were parents. They figured their job was to get me into a position where I knew how to survive when I left school. And that was it. Me and my dad had a working relationship more than we did as a father and son. Once I got to the age where I could actually work, then he was all about teaching me the stuff. Because coming from the type of family that I do, there are 6 generations before me who've done the same thing.
Mm.
And so my parents were all about teaching me what I needed to know so that when it was my turn to run a business, I mean, my dad was taken ill just as I was about to do my O levels, which is the big education thing over here.
Right.
And I came out of school and left. I never did take the exams because my dad was ill. So I came home and run the business at 15.
Mm.
So it's at the time I can remember being really upset about feeling like I was being pushed all the time. But when I look back on it, it was invaluable.
Yeah. Yeah. Hindsight's always pretty nice. Well, I know. I think I have the memory of a gnat, so I may have this wrong, but I think that I started following you after you left a comment on one of my videos a long
Right.
time ago.
Yeah, the video was one of your first, and you were talking about doing the channel as a legacy to your three daughters.
Okay, yeah,
And you were the first person that I'd seen on YouTube who had the same thoughts as I did. That's why I started my channel. And when you said it, I went, someone like-minded. So that was when it was, I don't know if it was your second or third video. It was very early on.
yeah. That may have even been my introductory video. It's been a long time back, because I kept looping back to that at the end of other videos, so you might have seen it that way. But that prompted us to sort of, get to know one another a little bit. And when you realized I was coming to Cambridge, you reached out and asked if I'd like to get a cup of coffee. And I'm just going to be honest with you. At first, I was like, "Oh Lord, I don't do well talking to people I don't know." But then I thought, this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. So we spent some time in Cambridge together, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And
So do
then
I.
and then you recommended we go to the American Cemetery
Yeah.
outside of Cambridge, which I didn't even know existed. And it was just it's a beautiful place. So tell me a little bit about that experience of, meeting for the first time and what was going through your mind.
Well, I felt that we had some connection. I felt that you're a little bit older than me, not a lot, but a little bit. But we kind of had everything that you said on there made me like you for one. And I often found myself nodding along as I was watching your videos and you were talking about different things. I was going, yeah, I get that. And so that kind of, there was like a kinship I felt at the time. Now, you know as well as I do, when you actually meet, it can be a totally different thing altogether.
True. Yeah.
And and we could have gone into that cafe and sat there like, what we're going to say.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't like that at all.
No.
And I thought we got on really, really well. We chatted easily. I think I was there a lot. I figured we were going to be about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that turned into an hour or so. And I felt I was holding you up. I felt I was holding you up for doing the things that you come there to do. But the American Cemetery, it's maybe 3 miles from my house. And I'd heard about it and wanted to go and have a look. And I was completely overwhelmed when I went there. That museum that we went in, when I first went there, I think I was in there for 3 hours reading everything. And when I walked around it, it was just unbelievable and it was humbling. We have nothing for British soldiers who fought in the wars like that here. They've got them in Normandy, but they don't have them here.
Right.
So I went there on the 4th of July another time because I felt that I wanted to go there. And so when you came, I wanted you to see for yourself, it's your country. These people died for your country. as well as ours. And I felt it was an important place to go. And I don't know how to say it, but I felt good sharing it with you and watching you go round it.
Yeah, I was in awe. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a great day. I loved it.
Now we were chatting just a little bit before we started this conversation about your great love for music. And, you've talked about it quite a bit on your channel. And then you just recently did a video that I thoroughly enjoyed, sort of introducing us to some of the albums and CDs that you have in this humongous collection that you've obtained over the years. What do you think sparked your interest in music that strongly?
Oh, that's dead easy. My dad, in the first amusement arcade I remember, my dad had a tape recorder, a reel-to-reel tape recorder, playing all the hits of the late 50s and the early 60s.
Hmm.
My godfather owned a record shop in the town where my dad was, and he made the tapes up for him. As the new entries would come in, he would tape them and give the tape to my dad, and my dad would play it in the arcade. And
Okay.
my bigger sister tells me the story that when I was about 18 months old, I used to go to the tape recorder and I'd worked out how to run it backwards and forwards and find a particular song, which was Splish Splash. You know Bobby Darin?
Oh yeah.
It was
Smack the
Splish
knife.
Splash. And I knew I'd
Okay.
worked out, I loved it. And she said you could run the tape forward or backwards and know exactly where it was. And this is something that I don't even remember, but I know it because she's told me this. And she tells me these stories of all of her friends when we were on the fairgrounds. My sister's 12 years older than me, so her friends would have been like 13, 14. And my sister and my brother collected 45 singles. And she says that they would have a game where they'd sit on the thing and they'd pull a single out and show me it. And I could tell them what it was before I could even read.
Hmm.
And she said sometimes you'd say what it was, and they'd go, "No, it's not," and they would read it off the label, and I'd say, "No, turn it round," and when turn it round, and so I don't. None of this I remember, but I've had enough people tell me this who were there at the time that I believe it's true. I
Okay.
wouldn't believe it. It's just the fact that my sisters and my brother's friends who are of their age, as I got older, God, when you was little, and they tell this story. And so I know it's pretty true. I had my first record. My first record, I was 3 years old, and it was the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Hmm.
That was the first one. And my dad, because we had fairgrounds, all the rides played music. And all my dad's friends who owned rides knew that I liked music. So when they bought new records to replace old ones, they would give me the old ones.
Oh wow.
So by the time I was 11, I think I had 1,000 records. And it kind of just went on from there. I was, I'd probably have money if it wasn't for records. I spent so much over the years on records and that. But when it came in useful, it was a horrible thing. I had this lovely collection I'd been collecting since I was a child. And when I lost my business when I was 30, it was 1990, beginning of 1991. We lost our business and I had nothing to bring any money with. So I bought a market stall, which was probably £100, probably $120 or something. And I sold my record collection to make sure we had money coming in because I had
Yeah.
two boys and a wife to feed. It's
Yeah.
what you do, isn't it?
You
And
do.
so I sold it all. And then once I started to got going again and started getting everything back together, I started buying records, but not like I did before. So what I have now is my second collection. But because I'd also DJ'd, I've done
Yeah.
disco. So I've played events all around the country for at soul events. I've done radio work and all that sort of. So when you do radio, it's really good because they give you records.
Right. Right.
You get records given to you, which is even better. And so I've kind of got this second collection, but my love of music, it is the first love I had because it's from very right back when I was really small. So you blame Bobby Darin.
Well, to be honest, he's probably to blame for a lot of people falling in love with music. So, um, yeah, I have a little different history with music, but music has always been a huge part of me. And I think part of that as a very young child, I know my brother, who was 6 years older, I think he might have bought Hard Day's Night, and he had a couple of Beatles albums. So I immediately fell in love with the Beatles, and I was
Yeah.
maybe six. Um, and my grandmother on my dad's side was a huge music lover, but she would listen a lot to Southern gospel quartets, and so I sort of grew up with that. And it's just, I don't know, music's just always been, and my brother was a professional piano player, so I'm sure that has a little something to do with it too. But um, it was just, music's just always sort of been a part of my life as well. But now I don't have a collection. I don't even have that many things in my Apple Music library anymore. It's mostly I'm listening to streaming services. Just whatever comes up is what I hear. But I do envy your collection.
Well,
It's
it
astonishing.
stands. I've got it's it's this is a tiny, tiny bit of it. I have most of it digitized as well, so it's on hard drives in here, and there's like 55, 60,000 different tracks. So it's too big because you never know what to play.
Oh well, yeah, that's true. The more choice you have, the less choice you have. Um, so with your YouTube channel and you're wanting to sort of leave some advice and things for your kids and sort of a legacy for your kids and grandkids. Have you done any videos where you've specifically asked them about things they wanted to know and
No,
responded to that?
no, because I'm frightened they're going to say we're not interested in any of it.
Well, and the reason I ask is because I just did. We're recording this on a Monday, and yesterday on Sunday, I just did my third interview with my mom, and it'll come out on the 26th. That's her 93rd birthday, so it'll go live on the 26th of November. But it is, I came up with the questions that I wanted to know. This interview was mostly about how she and my dad met, what their life was like early on. And I heard stories I'd never heard before. I mean, things that I think most of my memory, most of what I know is, I was already around and my brother was sort of heading into high school. And that's the biggest memories I have. And so going back before either one of us were born, I was just amazed at the things that I learned in this interview. So I was just wondering if you had considered that or thought about asking your kids what they might like to know.
I haven't. It's a funny thing you say that. I've had those kinds of conversations with my boys before now. Um, one of my sons is more interested than the other is.
Okay.
But I think what happens is you become more interested the older you get. I do. I I I I'm at that stage in my life where I love finding out new things. I've got one aunt who's 90, she's 86, sorry. I've got an uncle who's 94, and I've got an aunt left who's 86. And she tells me these stories. She's my dad's youngest sister. So when he got married, she was 7. And so she remembers all of these things that happened. She was born with the war and everything, World War II. And so often we'll chat and she'll go, "Oh, I've just remembered." And she'll start telling me these stories, and they are brilliant to hear, of me mum and dad and what they were doing. I mean, my mum and dad lived in a bus when they first got married.
Oh,
They couldn't
wow.
afford, they couldn't afford a trailer. So they had a bus, a double-decker bus, and they lived on the top bit of it, and the bottom bit was where all of the poles and things for the stalls for the fairground came from. And to generate the light, my dad would have to get under the lorry, drop the prop shaft, connect a belt to a generator, and that's how it was. That I know I'm talking about 1947, something like that. But
I,
that's what they did. And so at the time, I wouldn't have been interested when I was young. Now I love to hear these stories.
yeah.
And I did the channel thinking more about perhaps when I'm gone than while I'm here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think that I have 3 daughters, and I think they watch my videos some of the time, but I'm pretty sure they don't watch them all of the time.
Yeah, that's just me.
And so I think maybe when when I'm not here anymore, it may be more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's generally the case. But do you know what? With YouTube, the biggest surprise I found of it was meeting other people. Not
yeah,
like me myself. We have actually met in real life, but the community that you build is just unbelievable. Um,
yeah,
the comment, the comments that I get are humbling. You get sometimes I'll do a video. It could be about any subject, and I'll get a message from someone saying, "Wow, I really needed that today. Thank you so much. That really helped." And it's something I never thought about when I started the channel, but it's a constant joy that you get that something that an insignificant person like myself, just a normal average guy who's lived some kind of a life, tells a story of something that he's gone through, and it's struck a chord with somebody, and they've gone, "Wow, I needed that. Thank you."
yeah,
And that's so humbling, and it's it's the best thing about it. If the truth is to be told, for me, is the fact that you can help somebody who you'll never meet, but something that you say bonds you with somebody else. I've had it with you. I've had it with other creators as well, where you've said something and you'd go, "Wow, I thought it was just me."
yeah,
Uh, And I think that's the biggest thing about it. This is the thing I enjoy most, is getting to know the other people, because I'm not an outgoing person in real life. If we were in a pub and we met at a party, I'd be the one stood up against the wall watching everybody else. Or if there's a group of people, I'm the one on the edge looking aloof, like I don't
yeah,
want to be there.
yeah. That's me.
And yet doing something like this kind of brings me out of myself. I've found doing live streams has made life so much better for me, because I will I will get to actually, and you don't get to chat. Someone will put something in the chat room,
Right.
and it will start a conversation I have in my head, my little running order for what I want to do, and then off in a tangent we go, and we talk about all sorts of things, and it's brilliant. And I'll hear what people are doing and what they've been up to during the course of the week. And it's just fantastic. And it's the best thing about YouTube as far as I'm concerned. I
Yeah.
think I've had miserable moments because the channel grows and then it drops down like a stone and all that sort of thing. But the constant through it is the people. It's the people that you meet and the people that you chat to and the people that you get to communicate and building that community. Like I said, when I started this, I only ever thought it was going to be me and my two sons.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, obviously that was me as well, because when this thing took off, I only had 43 subscribers and I was very happy with 43 subscribers. But you talk about live streams, and I should probably do more of them. I do one a month. Um, they are a lot of fun, but and you may experience this as well. Number one, I'm always surprised that even anybody shows up, because I don't find myself to be that interesting. But I also find that I have many of the same people who are there every time without fail. And I know those are the people who really care about what's going on with my channel. And so I try to pay very close attention to them when they're making comments or talking about things, because something has struck a nerve with them that brings them back all the time. And I'm sure you probably have that same kind of response.
Absolutely. I talk about it in different videos about the people that surround us, and you have a tribe, your tribe. They're a small amount of people. They're the ones that, when you're going through the mire, when everything's going wrong, they're the ones that put their arm around you and say to you, come on, don't worry about it. There's a way around this. And they're your support core. They're also the same people who won't get jealous when you do well.
True. Yeah.
They're the ones that are your biggest cheerleaders. And those people that come back to the videos time after time, month after month, video after video, they're your tribe. And as they're your tribe, I don't really like, I call it a tribe, and it's wrong. It's a community of you. It's a group of like-minded people.
Right.
And if they're willing to spend their time on me, then I'm willing to spend my time on them. And so therefore, if someone leaves a comment, I answer it. If someone has I try not to just say, great, thanks. I'll try and actually spend time and answer it and give something back. Because otherwise you're just taking, and that's not, in a channel that mostly tries to encourage people and give advice. And I'm not sure that that's always the right advice, because I've said it in my video that I'm not a guru. I'm just an ordinary Joe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so the only things I can talk about are things that I've gone through. I had somebody ask me something in a live stream the other day, and I didn't have a clue. And rather than bluster, I just went, I'm really sorry, I don't know, but I'll tell you what I'll do. Over this week, I'll see if I can find out, and I'll let you know next week. And I think that's fair. If they're willing, if someone's willing to watch my videos, then the least I can do is reply. And those people that come back week after week, one, I'm amazed that they do, and two, a lot of them came from your channel. I have to say, there are people that were watching your channel who happened to see that 2 minutes of chat that we had in Cambridge, who checked me out and have been loyal followers ever since. Yeah. And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. They've come to me from you and they've stayed as well. And that's really nice. It's humbling. And so we're very lucky. This can be the hardest thing in the world, YouTubing. everyone talks about, oh, you just pick up a camera and you just talk. And that alone is not the easiest thing for someone who actually doesn't, isn't the most outgoing person in the world. But what counterbalances all of the things, there's been many times I've thought to myself, why am I doing this? Nobody's watching. You, perhaps the last 6 months, my videos have gone like that, and it's the same across all channels for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
I was watching a video this morning, the Professor of Rock. He's got 1.45 million subscribers, and he said that on today's video that he went, do you know what? I don't know why I'm bothering to do this. My views have dropped like that. I'm getting 3 times less than I did 2 years ago, and his video had 88,000 views.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just relative. It's all relative. Everybody, even the big uns up there, all feel the same as we do if you're putting in the effort and not getting it. But you know what? You just need one person to comment on everything. On any video, one person could say something really nice. And you just think, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I have had, I've obviously had a few naysayer comments along the way. Some of them have hurt me quite a bit, but and they shouldn't. But 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, it's a comment of somebody saying, "I really needed this today because I was about to make a huge mistake, and you made me rethink it, and I feel much better about it." Those when you get those comments, the number of views don't matter anymore. They just don't.
No.
And I was having a conversation with a YouTuber by the name of David. I think it was David Moran, Popsy guy. That
I know.
interview with me obviously for this one.
I subscribed to it because I saw it on their channel.
But it's one of those things where, and I think I mentioned this in that interview, is that it hit me one day. I was getting a little down on myself on my photography channel because I had videos that weren't even hitting 100 views, and it dawned on me one day that if I were to sit down in a room and have a chance to talk to 100 people, I would think I was in hog heaven, So it really is about putting it sort of in perspective. Yeah. And it's hard. I don't know about you, but for me, I have to keep reining myself back in because I wind up in these places where I am really going after the views. And that's not the place I want to be.
I did a video not so long ago. I was pulled into that rabbit hole because we make the mistake, I think, of watching too many people who say they're gurus.
Yeah.
And you end up trying idea of the month. Because I didn't get into this. I did not get into this. One, to earn money. I didn't know you could. I didn't want to have 99,000 friends because I'm an introvert, really. And so I questioned myself as to why I'm doing it. But you sort of get sucked in. And if you start to watch how to make better videos, then you start doing these things. And I had to go to myself as recently as a few months ago and went, no, stop this. Start just doing videos that you want to do. Stop thinking about what videos will get viewers and just do stuff. This video that I did the other day, the music video, I haven't done a music video properly for ages. But someone in the chat room went, we can see all your CDs. What are they? So I thought, well, let's just do one and talk about them.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so I've kind of, don't get me wrong, I would be a liar if I said at this stage, after I've been doing this for 2 years, that I wouldn't I don't want to be successful as this. I don't want to have a big channel now. I would be a liar, because I've come to understand what YouTube can bring you. And that goes back to the community again. But I would like to be successful, because next year I will be a pensioner drawing a pension that's 2/3 of the amount of the money that I get now.
Yeah.
And so if YouTube could actually make up that gap and allow me to live at the standard that I'm still living now, I'll be more than happy with that. If it doesn't, then perhaps I'll have to spend less time on YouTube and go out and find a job part-time.
Well, when you become
You
a
know what I
full-time
mean?
pensioner, yeah. I mean, when you become a full-time pensioner, think about all the extra videos you could be making.
Yeah. My aim is to be able to go out more, but I'm not sure the money will
Yeah,
stretch to get
yeah.
there.
Well, I started the Life in Motion Diaries channel about 2 years ago, and my original goal was I would make a video with my phone every day for a year. That
I
was my challenge.
I don't know
And
how
when
you
it
do
was
it.
over, I really didn't know what I was going to do with that channel. And I tried to keep going. In fact, I'm doing mostly 3 videos a week over there. But after the first of the year, I'm going down to 1 video a week because I need the time back on this channel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just drawing my energy and my time and my resources away from what I really set out to do on YouTube, which was this channel. Um, and it will probably eventually wind its way into Never Never Land. Um, and I'll just move some of that content here and
Yeah.
keep making videos. But um, the one thing about that I will say, the one thing I found out about starting a second channel, I didn't tell anybody I started it. I told like 3 people that I was doing it, but I didn't make an announcement about it. There was no fluff about it. And almost immediately I had 1,000 subscribers. And what I found out was the algorithm was showing those videos to people who watched this channel.
Yeah.
And they were like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
So second channels are easier to get started than first channels are, but I don't recommend them.
I don't want another one. This one takes up more than enough of my time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
What I've tried to do is keep it that my evenings are for myself and Debs. I tried to keep away from, because I could find this very easy to keep doing more.
yeah,
You get engrossed in stuff. It's like when anybody does a hobby that they really love, that you could spend more and more time on it. So I kind of keep myself to time limits. I've changed it a little bit so that on Monday night, this evening, for instance, I'll be doing a live stream,
right.
which is, I said, because when a lot of my viewers on our channel are from America. And so for me to do a video at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're just getting up going to work. Do you know what I mean? It's a different
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And so I made it so that I do the channel at a time when people in America and Canada, who are the vast amount of my viewers, to be fair,
yeah.
it's a sensible time for them. So I said to Deb, do you mind if I have Monday night in the studio? And she went, yeah, go on. Getting out of my hair.
Now,
And so I've done that, yeah.
does she have any desire to join you on a video?
I've tried to get her to come in, because
Yeah.
she is the funniest person I know. She makes me laugh all the time. And it's probably why we're together, because we just laugh so much of the time and we find things funny with the same things. And so I'd love her to do a channel of her own, or even join me. And I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I have another friend of mine who, I mean, his wife doesn't even watch his channel. So, um, but it just, you're talking about, and it's always sort of been interesting to me, husbands and wives and whether they work together or not. If you were to convince her to come on a live stream and just chat with your viewers, I'll bet your viewers would just have a blast.
Yeah, yeah, because
You talking about?
she'd tell them
Yeah.
the secrets.
Well, you'd have to have the mute button right there. Um, so, and I'm gonna draw this to a close. But you mentioned, you and I both are sort of introverts at heart when
Yeah.
it comes to being around other people. And I remember you going outside the video for the first time
Oh,
to vlog where people might see you. Are you getting any more comfortable with that?
to be honest, my health has stopped me going out a lot lately,
Okay.
and so I haven't done any. But what I tend to do, I don't know if this is the same for you, Tim. I'm at my best first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I get up. We get up about 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and so I will get up and go out and do a video first thing. So I don't really see a lot of people.
Got you.
That I'm probably out and back before people are taking their children to school.
Okay.
And so I don't very often. There's been an occasion, on the odd occasion, like we went to a seaside to a beach, and I did a video walking along the beach, and there was tons of people everywhere. But I kind of figured that if I just look at the camera, I'll pretend they're not there, and I'll get through it. Yeah, it does get easier. I mean, the last video that I did outside, not far from my house, there is a roundabout, and there is this platform like that, like athletes would get on to collect their awards. What it's
Okay.
actually for is people coming over the bridge with a horse to get off the horse or to get back on the horse after having to get off it. It's for them to climb back on the horse or whatever.
Okay.
But in the last video, I decided for a bit of fun to use that. And so I set the camera up. This is about 8 o'clock in the morning. So all the people are going to work are flying around the roundabout. And there's me stood on the top of this thing with my hands like that, waving to everybody. So I suppose I've got a little bit there. But what I think is people aren't really that interested in you. People will walk past you and they'll look, wonder what he's up to. And 2 minutes later, their life will come back into play and they'll forgot.
Yeah.
So I kind of think in this world now, people are walking about with cameras all the time on their phones. And so it's not so much out of the ordinary as it used to be. We still think it is because we get embarrassed. And so you kind of think, oh, hope nobody knows me when I'm doing this. But the truth of the matter is that when you are doing a video, one, I haven't got as many interesting places to go to as you have. Because those parks that you've got, we got nothing as nice as that.
Okay.
And so you can go out and do all that kind of thing. But for the most part, I've had a few people stop me. In fact, a recent video that I did out over the back there's a park and a guy come along in a mobility scooter thing, and he started asking me what I was doing, and we just started chatting. We ended up chatting for about half an hour. Really interesting guy, and the video that I'd come out to do, he'd said something that made me think, oh, that's a take I haven't had on something. And I ended up changing my video into what that conversation had been about. And it became a different video altogether. And I think better for it. And so it is what it is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I can be out on my own, that's how I'd rather be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and and for me, when I'm out and about like that, a lot of times I'm trying to move off to the side somewhere where nobody's at. But um, I think where it was most uncomfortable, but I just decided I had to do it, was the live streams I did from Scotland. Because
Yeah.
walking up and down the streets of Edinburgh, um, and talking to the camera and seeing people look at me and wondering what the heck's going on. But it's like you said, 30 seconds later, they forgot it. That they don't
They
think
just get
about you.
on with their life.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you got me thinking about that guy that you sat down and talked with. I kind of wish you'd just turn the camera on and ask him if it was okay to record him and put that in a video.
I should have done. It's one of them things, though. You don't really know what the conversation, if there was going to
Yeah.
be a conversation,
Yeah.
or way it went. It just happened. He asked me, I answered the question. He asked me something else. I answered something. Then we just started talking about he lives in the same village as me, and so we just chatted. And it
Yeah.
was through the conversation that we had that made me think about something I was going to say in a different way. We all
Yeah.
learn off of stuff. Look, none of us know everything. I know very little. And so I learn from everybody that I speak to be fair. And so yeah, that's it.
All right, James, I'm gonna draw this to a close. I do appreciate you so much taking the time to talk to me.
This has been
Uh,
fun.
and I'm gonna turn the recorder off, but I don't want you to go away, okay?
Okay.